Hey guys, Dorothea here of Raw Wanderlust. Today I want to do something a little off topic, different from my normal videos. I would like to talk to you today about female cycles, menstruation, hormones, birth control, my experience with all of this. I have a lot to say because I am a female. I think the nature of this video is kind of more targeted towards my female audience, although I think anyone watching could gain insight and benefit from what I'm gonna say. All I can do is share my own experience, but I think it's a very relatable experience that I have, and we're not really taught to openly talk about, these normal things that happen to our bodies as women. And so the more we can talk about it, the safer environment we can make, the better. Like, there's just no downside to that, in my opinion. So, my experience, I got my period at a really young age, at age 11, eating just a normal standard American diet. The first 2 years were really awful. I never had a normal cycle. It was always like just randomly, sporadically coming and going. I'd miss it for 3 months, and then I'd have a period for a whole month, and then I wouldn't have it for 2 weeks, and then I'd have it for a few days, and it was just completely loopy, kind of nauseating, really. I just was not a fan, and I couldn't believe that I had to deal with this for the rest of my life. In a lot of ways, looking back, I was rejecting my femaleness at this point in my life. I kind of grew up a tomboy, and I just didn't like this change. I'm like, what the heck? Like, why? Then at age 13, I developed ovarian cysts chronically. Like, I don't think it was ever diagnosed as PCOS, as the syndrome, but I was getting them all the time. I was missing tons of school. I was going in every other week for an ultrasound, and the doctors just kept upping my pain meds. It was just awful. And it got to the point where one night I just was in so much pain that I told my parents, like, take me to the hospital right now. I can't do this. I'm gonna die. They rushed me to the hospital, and I had emergency surgery because I actually had 2 ovarian cysts, and they were wrapping around my ovary, cutting off the circulation. And if I'd come in any later, I would have lost my ovary. So it was a pretty serious situation. After that happened, the doctors pretty much were like, well, your only option is to go on birth control. My mom wasn't super supportive of me going on birth control at such a young age, but I was so desperate to be out of pain and to live a normal life that I was like, sign me up. I will do anything. Like, I will take whatever you give me. I was completely ignorant to drugs and their effects, but I just wanted the pain to be over and gone with. So, at age 13, I started taking birth control. I was on it, some form of hormonal birth control, for the next 9 years. In my case, the point of me taking the hormones was to regulate my cycles so that I wouldn't get these cysts. And I did take an experiment at one point when I was 16. I was really tired of taking the drugs, so I was like, I just wanted to go off them and see what happens. And lo and behold, like, I got the cysts right away, and I was in a lot of pain again, and I was like, crap, I have no other option. I have to be on this drug. It felt really hopeless for a long, long time until I found the raw vegan diet, and I started eating clean, plant-based foods. I was brave enough after about 6 months of eating like that to go off the meds once again, just kind of as an experiment, and see what would happen. Lo and behold, my cycle was completely normal. I felt like a new woman. I was about 21, and I could not believe that I could live like this. I was sexually active at the time, and so instead of using the birth control that I'd always used, I decided to use the family planning method, which, if you guys are familiar, it's like where you take your temperature and you track everything like pretty rigorously. There's lots of different signs that will tell you when you're ovulating and when you're not ovulating, and there's only actually like a 3 to 5 day window within your cycle where you're physically able to get pregnant. So I was very aware of when that period was of my cycle, and I was careful during that time. That method worked for me for a long time, and then eventually I just kind of got sick of recording all of this data and just having to like stay so strict to it. So I decided I'm gonna get an IUD, which I researched, and it was a good choice for me. It's a non-hormonal IUD, so basically it's a piece of copper that they insert into your vagina, and it's a spermicide, so it kills the sperm, and the IUD method lasts for about 10 years. Although I'm technically not raw vegan, I still eat a largely plant-based diet and largely made of raw fruits and vegetables, and so I think just the nature of eating a better diet is a huge factor in your hormones and regulating everything with your cycle. It's so underrated. I think people don't, especially doctors, when you go into the clinics or the hospitals or the whatever, like they don't acknowledge it enough and they don't teach it enough. And it's so critical to your female health. I'm really fascinated by the female body, and I'm really fascinated by all of the changes that it goes through on a monthly basis. I've noticed for me personally that there are definite periods of the month where I feel like smoking hot, which is probably when I'm ovulating, or when I feel like super bloated and uncomfortable and really moody, like anyone can do anything to me and like I'll just like snap. You know, there's times of the month where I feel highly motivated and like, yeah, like let's go do it. Like I feel super productive and energized. And then there's other times of the month when I'm like, I can't even bother to get out of bed. So it's fascinating to me, and I think it's really useful to be able to track this information because it's normal. First of all, like estrogen, progesterone levels, like they rise, they fall, and they affect you. Like you can't not be affected by this. And if you know when those days will be, then you can plan when to get the most work done, when to give yourself a break, you know, like just organize your life around this cycle, which I think is so cool. Like I'm kind of geeking out about it. Like I just can't get over how cool it is. One tool that I've started using that a friend turned me on to is an app that you can download on your phone. It's called Clue. It's completely free. And it's just a thing where you go in every day and type in like how many hours you slept, how you were feeling, if you had any cravings, if you started your period, whatever. Like there's just tons of different categories that you can choose from. And you punch in your data. It takes like less than 30 seconds every day. And it's a way to organize your cycle and to know and better predict what's going to happen when. I highly recommend it. It's a lot easier, I think, than tracking on paper. Whenever I bring up my issues, my history in conversations, it's always well received. People are usually like chomping at the bit to like talk about this and like have someone else to relate to. I hope that this information was useful for you. If you like this video, you can go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you want more videos like this, let me know in the comments down below. And I'll see you next time. Okay.